What's up, guys? I am PokeaimMD, and today I'm doing a guest narration for my boy Thunderblunder. It's a UU match versus Revenge Boys. I'm also kind of sick, so I do apologize if that does affect this narration, but let's get right into it. So, his opponent leads off with Blastoise. Thunderblunder leads off with his Crustle. He's going to switch directly into his Rotom Cut and not want his Crustle to take a Scald. As unfortunate for Thunderblunder, his opponent does end up getting the burn, but now he can go right for the Volt Switch, expecting the switch, as his opponent does end up going out to his Registeel, which does give Thunderblunder the free switch into his Blastoise, so he can basically just fire off Scalds, trying to get his own burns, and or even fire off super effective damage on some Revenge Boys Pokemon. But he ends up staying in, showing that he does pack the Toxic, which would normally be bad for Blastoise because Blastoise is a tank. But Thunderblunder actually has Refresh, which is very unexpected. It's also very good on Blastoise because, like I said, it's a tank. So wearing it down is usually how you deal with it. And with Refresh, you do last longer. So last longer. But either way, he ends up going for the Stealth Rocks, followed up by a switch into his Heracross, expecting the Scald Burn because he does have Guts, so he wanted to try and get that boosted power. But he ends up missing Mega Horn. If he didn't want to miss, he could have used Bug Bite, as he is able to hit this next one, as Thunderblunder is going to force him out into his Registeel, and he doesn't really want to stay in. He actually wants to take this as an opportunity to go out to his Crustle because he knows that his opponent has not laid up Stealth Rocks yet, or hasn't laid them up again, so he could basically take this as an opportunity to start setting up on this Registeel, since Registeel can't really do too much barring like wearing it down with Toxic plus Seismitoss damage. So he ends up getting his rocks, they both get him up, and right here Thunderblunder is going to make a pretty good play. He is going to predict his opponent to want to switch out into Blastoise to try and spin away these hazards, so he ends up going for the Toxic, as his opponent ends up doing just that. And now he makes another good play because Thunderblunder does have a Mismagius on his team, which could easily come in on Blastoise's Rapid Spin, but it doesn't appreciate being Toxic. So he is going to make the switch into his Blastoise, expecting the Toxic or the Foresight, as his opponent does end up going for the Toxic. Now what he could have done right here was try and switch directly into his Mismagius from here, expecting the Rapid Spin. That way he can wear that Blastoise down with the Toxic, and of course also block the spin. But he ends up going right for the Refresh, maybe expecting again Foresight or a double Toxic, expecting Mismagius. Maybe he didn't want to make that play because he thought it was too obvious. But right here he does it. I'm going to the Rapid Spin off, and now he is going to make a switch into Chandelure. Kind of risky because Scald also could have came his way, but it didn't happen that way. He ended up going right for the Energy Ball right here, and he is able to knock at that Blastoise, which means that Revenge Boys hazards are here to stay. So now he is going to go out to his Flygon, expecting the switch into Gligar. He is going to go right for the U-turn, as the opponent ends up doing just that, and this basically gives Mismagius a free sub because Gligar can't really touch Mismagius unless it's packing like Stone Edge or like knockoff. But it actually turns out that his opponent is packing Taunt Toxic, so he's going to end up switching out into his Blastoise, trying to probably phase this Mismagius out, expecting the sub, as he doesn't end up going for the sub. Now he can do is go right for the Thunderbolt. He's not packing HP Fighting, he's packing Thunderbolt, so he can get off some super effective damage, as he does end up forcing him out into his Rotom Cut. Now his opponent kind of makes a really ballsy play. Thunderblunder could have just as well went for the Leaf Storm or the Trick right here, but he ended up going for the Volt Switch. His opponent ended up being that guy going out to Gligar. It was still a good play though, because he did predict the Volt Switch, so he was able to basically stop that Rotom, which is more than likely choice. So he does end up going for the Toxic, expecting to switch more than likely into his Magius, since he hadn't shown Toxic yet on this Gligar. But Thunderblunder did not want to risk him poisoning or statusing his Mismagius rather. So he ends up having the Taunt, which completely shuts down Crustle because Rock Blast does nothing. But Thunderblunder is going to be stubborn. He does not want to switch out because basically his Mons would be at risk of being poisoned. So once again, his opponent is going to make a pretty good play, expect the switch, so he is going to go right for the Toxic. He basically didn't lose anything by Toxicing. Rock Blast was doing crap. He could go right for the Roost, and you know, he could just recover all the HP that Rock Blast did. So Thunderblunder is going to U-turning out into his Crustle. I guess trying to use that Flygon Crustle Stealth Rocks is basically like a pivot switch. Just trying to get out his Crustle, that way he can go out to his Magius versus Gligar, but his opponent does see that coming, which is why he switched into his Blastoise as Death Fodder, because he knew that if Gligar was out, Mismagius basically gets up a free sub. So with him foddering off his Blastoise and then going out to his Chandelure, he was able to effectively keep that Mismagius at bay. So now his opponent, or Thunderblunder rather, does go out to Cobalion, makes the double switch into his Mismagius, expecting the Gligar to come in. I was kind of expecting a double Shadow Ball right there, since That wasn't that obvious, but it would have been. It was basically the best play that Thunder Blunder could have made right there. So, you know, his opponent might have been able to predict that. But no, he ends up going out to his Gligar. He can go for the taunt, which basically does stop Mismagius from getting up a nasty plot. But it doesn't stop it from still wreaking havoc behind a sub, because as long as this thing is behind the sub, he can just do some work to his team. I don't think his opponent's Registeel has a way of breaking these subs, since he does have Stealth Rocks, more than likely Seismic Toss and Toxic. I don't know what his last move is, whether it be Iron Head, Earthquake, or Shadow Claw. But either way, Heracross is able to break the sub with the Stone Edge, and now he can just go right for the Shadow Ball. He couldn't end up going for the sub again because Taunt was still on him, but now it does wear off. So now he's going to end up going out to his Chandelure. It is definitely Scarf, so Thunder Blunder is going to want to switch out, and I'm going out to his Rotom Cut as Death Fodder, as the opponent goes for the Overheat, knowing that it can knock out Mismagius and it can also keep Cobalion at bay. But now Thunder Blunder goes out into his Flygon, surprises his opponent by being outsped by Scarf Chandelure, since Scarf Flygon is faster, and his opponent ended up going for the Overheat. That was not a bad play. He was more than likely expecting Thunder Blunder to have Scarf Flygon to go for the U-turn, to U-turn out to either Mismagius or Cobalion, and then he can nail them with a -2 Overheat, which would still do a hell of a lot. But it turns out that he is E-Belt, because he's able to switch in moves, go right for the Outrage on this opponent's Honchkrow, as his opponent tried to go for the sub, because basically with a sub up, he had the game in the bag, since it would force Thunder Blunder to sack 2 Pokemon. But either way, now he can go out to his Cobalion, makes a risky play of his own, which is going for the Sword Dance, more than likely expecting his opponent to not want to go for the Superpower or Brave Bird. That was really risky, but it worked out for him, because he was able to get up to +4, because he did get a flinch on this Gligar, and basically forcing this Gligar to roost. And now he can basically just get off a +4 Iron Head, which is a solid 2-hit KO. And again, unfortunately for his opponent, he doesn't flinching it with Iron Head. So he's going to make the switch into his Registeel, I guess trying to bait the close combat. That way he can go right back out into Gligar, maybe live Iron Head, and then get off an Earthquake. With the defense drops, it could have done enough to knock him out, but it doesn't happen that way, because yes, he ends up making the switch right back into his Gligar. Kind of didn't understand that play, but it is basically a Cobalion sweep right here, mini sweep. So yeah, good game, Thunder Blunder. Good game to your opponent. You guys both played well, though that one move, that switch didn't really make too much sense, but he really couldn't do too much because of the flinches. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and until next time, later.